Now, fresh incidents of violence and assault have been reported from the Indian state of Manipur. In a disturbing video, two women were paraded on a road by a group of men. The tensions have been running high in Manipur since late April. The clashes are essentially between two communities of Kuki and Methi. But the issue is much more complex. The violence began after a solidarity march held by the tribal groups. And this was against the proposal to grant scheduled tribe status to the dominant community of Methi. So far, at least 140 people have been killed and nearly 50,000 people have been displaced. Now, for more on this story, we have joining us live is B.L. Vora. He's the former DGP of Manipur and Tripura. Welcome to the broadcast, sir. Now, the issue that is playing out in Manipur right now, do you think it has its roots in the present or the past?
Well, this has roots in the present, and this video about this woman, I am outraged like all of you, like the whole nation. In Manipur, there were never earlier communal situations. There were insurgent groups from Meithis and Nagas, and insurgent groups, always work against the government. But among communities, there were always harmony was there. I have done 3 tenures there in various ranks for over a decade. In fact, I went to Manipur in November and December only, recently. And things were peaceful totally. But I think after that, few things started happening. Intelligence reports must have been there, but no, there was no anticipation on the part of the government. I think everyone failed, straight from political class to bureaucratic to the forces to everyone. Even the communities have failed themselves.
You say things were mostly peaceful and there was harmony between different sections of the community. So,
correct.
So Methi is asking for a scheduled tribe status. Did that complicate the situation in Manipur?
Well, that is one of the factors. That is the trigger. Since you have raised this issue, let me go back to the Manipur's history a little bit. Manipur is a very complicated state to govern. It has 3 major communities: Nagas, Kukis, and Meithis. And each one has sub-tribes. Now, Nagas and Kukis were having scheduled tribe status right from the beginning. And they are Christians, and they live in the hills. Meithis live in the valley on 10% of the land, and they are about half of the population. They have been saying that since we have given scheduled tribe status to both Kukis and Nagas, why don't you give it to us also? No, it's a very legitimate demand as far as they are concerned. Now, Kukis and Nagas, they of course also have their own aspirations. Everyone has aspirations, and one has a right to have the aspirations and all. Now, their anxiety was that if Meithis get the scheduled tribe status, then the government jobs will also go to them. More of these jobs because of scheduled tribe status. Because most of the officers there are from Nagas and mostly Kuki tribe in Manipur. Second, Meithis then will be able to buy land in the Kuki areas or the Naga areas, because as OBCs, which Meithis are today, they cannot buy land. Unless you're a tribal, you cannot buy land in the tribal area. So their apprehension was that these people will then come, they will buy land in our areas. 2 more things complicated the situation. One was Rohingyas, which had come from Myanmar. Ethnically, they are closer to Kukis. Kukis welcomed them, made them stay in their areas in many villages, many dozens and dozens of villages, which the government came to know, and it ordered a survey saying it will identify these refugees and put them in relief camps, look after them well, and report them as and when the situation improves. This was not liked by Kukis at all. Secondly, in the forest reserve area also there were some villages And in the forest reserve, you can't have habitation. So some of the villages were razed to the ground by the government. So this also enraged cookies. And third was, 2, 3, their churches also were touched by these people. Now the Manipur High Court, where some Meiteis went with a plea to declare Meiteis as scheduled tribes, this is a South Indian judge, poor fellow, he has no idea also of Manipur is all about basically. He simply said, passed a judgment that the state government should, within 4 weeks, take a call on the request of the Meiteis, demand of the Meiteis about scheduled tribe status, and then make a recommendation to the government. Now, recommendation can be this way, that way. Also, 4 weeks were still there when the whole thing flared up, because this was the trigger for cookies. And Meiteis also then retaliated, and then it was free for all. And situation is before you. The worst part is the officers' class was also divided, the junior class also was divided.
Right.
So the forces, they handed over weapons, more than 4,000 weapons to the people of their own communities. And only about 1,000 have come back. Now, in a state which has been infested with insurgency in the past by Meiteis and Nagas, having so many weapons, even 20 weapons are enough for any insurgent group. And many weapons would have gone abroad, they would have gone to other groups, they would have gone across the border. And it's a very, very serious situation. And there's a very clear communal divide now, violence on both sides. Both are equally responsible, if you ask me, in a way. And the chief minister, unfortunately, being a Meitei, somehow I think the perception has gone that he is pro-Meitei. That
Right.
has done damage.
All right, what you're describing are very complicated situations. So talk to us a little about the law and order situation. Of course, everything is playing out in front of us, but how do you see the police and the law enforcement officers controlling the issue at the moment?
Police is unfortunately not doing very well. Though I'm a policeman, I have headed the police force. Because I said there is a division among the officers and men in that also. And secondly, there's no faith of the communities now. Now, these people are, in a way, indirectly, that is the perception, at least, supporting their own communities. And no action has been taken by them. I think that is, some heads should have been rolled, some officers should have been transferred by now. I think swift action should have been taken. Now, the police force, I think they must send some officers from outside who should handle the situation. As it is, it's a divided police force, not exactly 100%, but definitely to some extent. And they are overwhelmed. You have seen when they catch people, the public comes, the crowd comes, they get the people away. Even it happened to these poor girls also, they were taking them to the police station, and then the mob came and took them away. So law and order is difficult. On the face of it, looks better. I hope it will be better. But the undercurrents are very strong. The division between the communities are very strong. And unless some strong steps are taken for reconciliation, things are not going to improve for a very long time to come.
Right. I want to go back to a point you just briefly mentioned. Mr. Vora, like most conflicts, women become the victims of violence, and you must have heard or seen the video that we have been talking about on WION as well, the 2 naked women being paraded. What is the police, what are you hearing from the police or the authorities regarding specifically to contain the situation and make it better in any way for the women?
Firstly, see, I am outraged like you. This shame, we all must hang our heads in shame on what has happened. The police, the superintendent of the police of the district has said the case has been registered, the matter is under investigation. That is a standard reply. But 77 days, I think there is definitely some failures somewhere. Of course, there will be vested interest who will be giving them shelters. Maybe these people have gone across the border, the culprits. So I think that much more needs to be done, and I think they should have some neutral kind of officers, in the sense from neutral communities, who should be there and who should supervise the investigation, and fast work must be done. Also, the government can consider giving it to the CBI, the cases, or it can be at least a high court monitored probe into various incidents. And most important, future such incidents must be avoided at all costs. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. All right. It seems like to bring down this situation to just an issue between two communities is not doing justice to this story. That's what I've understood by speaking to you. It's much more complex. But thank you for decoding us this issue that's at the moment playing out in the Indian state of Manipur, sir. Thank you, B.L. Vora, for joining us.
Thank you for calling me. Jai Hind.